Recording in progress.
Good morning, guys. How are you all? We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to join and we'll get started. I still hate this camera is backwards on me. It's like flipped on this one. So every time I go to move my hair, I'm doing it on the wrong side. It drives me nuts.
I see you up there on the screen. Everything's correct.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Behind you,
It is maybe the right way.
it is.
On my screen, though, it's like flipped. So it drives me nuts because I'm like trying to touch that side of my hair and it's this side of my hair. Anyway, I know, right? We'll give everyone just a couple more minutes. I know Sarah is going to be joining us as well because today's class is on the 6 personal perspectives, and we are going to go through the first 3. And so I will be starting off, and then Sarah and Janice are going to be co-hosting with me to do their 2 of the 6 perspectives. And then I want to say in a couple weeks on the calendar, we have the last 3 on there. So we will run through those to finish it off at that point. While we're waiting for Sarah to get on and everybody else to join, I'm going to quickly do a share screen. There we go. Hold on a minute. All right, can you guys hear me now? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize I was muted. I shouldn't have shared my screen too quickly. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about the 6 personal perspectives. I'm going to be co-host with Janice and Sarah, and we're going to start going through them. Has anybody ever heard of the 6 personal perspectives or been to a class about it with KW or any place else? Anyone besides Sarah and Janice? I'm going to take that as a no. All right. So quiet. I promise you guys at some point, I'm going to make it mandatory that you have your cameras on because I hate nothing more than talking into a black hole and not knowing if I'm muted or not. So I really would strongly encourage unmuting yourself and engaging, or I'll just be randomly calling on you. So, all right, moving forward, the 6 personal perspectives. It's a foundational perspectives to propel you to the highest level of achievement. Would you, Patty, close that door for me? What is the difference? What is it that differentiates, I get ahead of myself, those who achieve at the highest level from those who do not accomplish much? Does anyone have an answer to that? Fear? Did you say fear? That's okay. Fear. She was afraid to say fear. That's okay. That's one. Anybody else? What do you think?
Discipline.
Discipline. I love it. Tell me more about discipline.
Just going and doing the things that you don't even want to do just because you know you have to do it.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. And when we do it, don't we feel so much better and accomplished at the end of the day? Yes. Awesome. So we're going to talk a lot about that. So defining the 6 personal perspectives starts with mindset, then attitudes, and then your actual approach to life. In this class, it's related to everything in your life. It's not just in particular related to real estate. Matter of fact, we don't talk about real estate at all, really. It's all the different things that you're going to want to do to help you in your life, help you get organized, having a path, something to hang on to and commit to. So I'm going to briefly touch on what the 6 personal perspectives are. And today we're going to go through the first 3. So step 1 in the 6 is commit to self-mastery. I am going to nail it. I am going to master this. So this would be the difference. And I'm going to talk about that one today. We're going to start there. That's the difference of saying things like this. I probably will come to class. I'll most likely be there versus I'm going to do it. That could be all different kinds of things in your life. My husband often says, I'll probably get that project finished this weekend. And I always say, no. You're setting yourself up for failure. The way you're going to say that is, I will get that project done this weekend. And then you're way more likely to do it. Number 2 is commit to the 80-20 principle. I am going to focus on my big rocks. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what big rocks means. Number 3, move from E to P. I am purposeful about breaking through my ceiling of achievement. And we're also going to talk about that one today. I'll just touch on the other 3, which we're going to do later in the month. Make being learning based a foundation of your action plan. I am willing to be taught. I always pursue learning. Number 5, remove your limiting beliefs. I unlimit my thinking and my success. And the last one, be accountable. It's mine, I own it. All right. So this is going to be a little interactive too. So everybody get out a piece of paper or, go on your notes on your phone or however you want to do this. I see some people driving. So just, I guess, talk along with it. So let's just first talk about the challenge here. How would you change? What would you do that you're waiting to do, but there's some reason that you're not pursuing it? So what is something that is waiting for you, but if I don't do it in the future, I'm going to be really disappointed about that thing. So 3 things you'd like to accomplish in your life. So for example, being a top producing agent or being a capping agent, that's something on a smaller level. I promise it is. It may not sound like it, but I want to cap at KW. I want to feel what it's like to make 100%. That would be something, that would be a thing that you'd like to accomplish that's related to your job. I would tell you even go on to write down 3 things that you'd like to accomplish in your life personally, and 3 things you'd like to accomplish in your life related to your business and real estate. We'll give you guys like, just, let's take 2 minutes to jot those down. And, or if you are driving, you can just shout them out, because I'm going to ask a couple people to, and again, I don't care if you tell us 1, 2, and 3, or one of them, and you can tell me your personal, or you can tell me what's related to business. I'll give you guys just a couple minutes. All right, would anyone like to share 1 or 3 of your things you'd like to accomplish in your life? And again, you can share something that's personal or something that's related to your business and real estate.
Well, I can go first since I am the one driving.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so I feel like my goal for real estate right now is just to become confident in with whatever I'm going through. So like if I'm, you know, listing, selling, whatever the transaction may be, that I'm just confident in going into it. Being someone that constantly has to find somebody to ask a question to is never the person that I've ever liked to be. So I feel like just being really knowledgeable and confident in the job function itself. I know it's kind of general.
That's okay.
But I don't really, I guess I'll get more into the specifics when I start to do it, right? But
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like that would be like a main goal for me. And then personal, I guess it would just be maybe like working out again. I don't know. Trying to find time to get back in the gym or even get on the Peloton that's literally in the basement.
Same.
So yeah, like I don't know. So I think that those, I don't think I have 3 right now off the top of my head, but I think that those 2 would be like my main ones right now.
Awesome. That this whole packet is in the Google Drive under 6 personal perspectives. So you guys can go back and find these slides later as well.
Okay.
But thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else like to share?
I'll share. Can you hear me? It's Carla.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. I think just being more confident in this new career path for me as I'm just starting out. So I think in my past career, I was very confident as an educator and teacher. So getting out of that comfort level and learning that every transaction is a new transaction. Every client is a different client. And just knowing, not taking things so like personally, just realizing just consistency and following through, even if you're not hearing the text back, the phone call back, nobody answers, it's not you, just keep pursuing. And so I think that's a learning curve for me right now, being new to the industry. I think it'd be in anything, just coming from my previous profession, it is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then personally, just taking more time for me, being a mom, you kind of like to you're in charge of everything. But then at the end of the day, if you really reflect, you're like, wait a minute, I did not take those 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And I think that's so important. And I need to do better in that.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing both those. So Gary Keller says we fail our way to success. So with the calls, then people aren't responding. You know, if I spend an hour making calls or sending out messages and I get one response, that one response can lead to thousands of dollars for you in the future. So we can't, and then getting your mindset right about it is so important. That's why we throw in classes like this periodically. Sure, in coaching, we want to be learning based. We want to talk about how to do this and how to do that. But we also have to get our mind right about what to expect out of things. And that's why we do things like 6 personal perspectives. So awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. So defining the 6 personal perspectives, do a reality check. What is your goal? And I'm looking for you guys to answer these questions. How are you doing with your goal? And how do you feel about that? What will your future look like if I don't achieve my goal? So I want to take a minute there. And this could be a lot of different things with your goal. You know, obviously we put together a GPS and we look at what are the goals of how many houses I want to sell. That's a immediate goal. That's something I'm working towards, but really figuring out, we call it here at KW, your big why. What is my goal and what is my big why? How am I doing with my big why? Or on a more, you know, controlled level, the goal of how many houses I want to sell. And then how do I feel about how it's flowing right now? Be honest with yourself. And then, of course, if I don't ever achieve that goal, how is that going to make me feel? So I just want to take a minute to tell this story, and hopefully I can remember it correctly. It was so impactful to me that I've always had it in my mind. And it was probably, I'm going to say 6 years ago and, 10 bolds ago that the bold instructor told this story, and that has stuck with me. And this is what he said was an exercise that he actually did. So he himself, and I can't remember his name, did this exercise, and I wanted to share it. He said, I did an exercise where I wrote 2 letters to myself. And in the letter, and then it was to myself, but it was addressed on the envelope to my family. And so I wrote a letter to myself, and then I addressed it to my family in an envelope, which I hung both on the refrigerator. And the one letter said to myself, and I'm sure he got this. Anyone who's done bold knows that at the last bold class, you write a letter to yourself saying all the things that you want to accomplish in the next year. And you put it in a self-addressed envelope, and then they mail that to you. Now there's an app we use. And so in a year from when we did bold, which the last bold we did was in the spring, I'll get an email, and it's going to be that letter I wrote to myself and the things that I wanted to accomplish in the next 12 months. So I'm sure that he got this idea, obviously he's a bold instructor, from that. In any case, the first letter said, here are the things I want to accomplish, not only in the next year, but in the next month, week, year, and my lifetime while I'm raising my family. And he goes on to then say, when I accomplish those goals, here's the vision of the life we'll be able to live because I've reached those goals. So here's my vision, whatever those dreams were for him and his family. Maybe it was go on these vacations every year, or build a new house, or be able to pay for my kids to go to college. He didn't go into detail. Whatever those goals are for how he wants the vision of his family and his life to be, was in that letter to himself addressed to his family. And it said somewhere on there, basically, we've achieved that. We are here. We have, because I've achieved my goals in small ways along the way, and then ultimately my big goal, we are living the life that we've dreamed of. The second letter on the refrigerator addressed to his family, written by him to himself, said, here's all of my goals. And then there was an apology at the end. And it said, I'm so sorry, family, that I didn't do the small things that I should have done on a daily basis and a weekly basis to be able to reach the goals that I had and we had for our family and I had for myself. And I wasn't able to give you the life, and I wasn't able to create the life that I wanted for myself and our family. And so he proceeded to say, every single day he stared at those letters hanging on his refrigerator, and he knew, which letter do we want to open in the future and be true? And that was his driving force every single day to every day accomplish those daily tasks and those daily goals. Because when we just look at the big picture, I want to go from here to here, but don't see the path. So like, I am not a skier in any way. I'm not athletic, even a little bit. So do I say suddenly that I have a goal that I want to get from the top of the mountain all the way to the bottom and like just live, but without seeing the path? I have to do little things along the way to be able to achieve those goals, right? Otherwise, I'll be in the middle of a snowball at the end of the hill or mountain, I guess. So there's little goals along the way, and you have to be able to stand there and see your path to get down. And so it's the same with any kind of a goal. You have to plan those things little bit by little bit. So if you only look at the big chunk, it just seems too big. It just seems too big. And then you don't know what the next step is. And that's where we spend so much time here at KW and in particular in the coaching program, helping you see very clearly to your everyday. That's why we teach time blocking. That's why we talk about it. If you don't, take time in your calendar to say specifically, this is what I'm going to be doing in this hour and in this hour and in this hour of my day and of my week, how do you intend to achieve your goals? So I would challenge you all, whether you do it virtually or do it mentally or actually write a letter to yourself and to your family that says, here's what I want and here's what we'll receive in the life that we're going to live. And then if we don't do that, here's my apology to myself and my family that I'm not living the life that I wanted to live. So I love that. And as I said, that has always stuck with me. So I would challenge you all to keep that in mind. And then that is what, keeps you moving forward. We have to have our eye on the prize at some point, but you have to break it down daily. So any ahas from that? Any questions, thoughts, comments about that particular story or talking about goals and how you would feel if they didn't come true?
The example that you gave, at what point, do you know or not know, at what point did he decide to give those letters? Like, at what point did he decide to send them?
He didn't specifically say, but it sounded to me like this from the beginning of what he was talking about, was that he was an agent selling houses and he decided that he wanted to become a coach, and that the things that he wanted to do in his big dream was not just to be a coach, in his office or market center, that he wanted to be a bold coach to travel around the country and, and pursue that in a much bigger way. And he had only recently started doing that. But even in the short time, which I think was maybe 2 years, he said his entire life had changed in that time period.
Okay.
So I can tell you this. I've been selling real estate for 26 years now, coming up here in January. And I've been at Keller Williams, I'm going to say 8. My entire life has changed when I left Cutler and came to Keller Williams. My entire life had changed. I was still doing the same thing, still selling houses. Of course, now I'm coaching, but KW has led me a path to not only selling more houses, but making more money than I ever made previous at a previous company that I was at for a decade. But it also opened doors for me because here I sit coaching, and I didn't even know that that was a dream. I didn't even know that that was a goal for myself, and it has been life-changing. So there's sometimes are dreams that you haven't even dreamt yet, right? So we just don't even know where those paths are going to take us. However, I can promise you that there will be no path that shows itself if you do nothing. If you stay at home and don't do anything to pursue your life in this business, nothing's going to happen. All right, let's jump in. Commit to self-mastery. All right, self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits to make you the master of you. When you commit to achieving self-mastery, you do the following. You know your goals. This is why one of the first things that I do with everybody, myself, Sarah, and Janice, is to get you set up for your GPS appointment so that we can get your goals down on paper. Let me also mention, I think I talked about this on Monday at Dominate Your Week. There's also something that's called the daily 411. Sometimes the GPS is too big of a chunk. So it's just like, this is so general. I don't know what I'm doing on a daily basis. And that's where you can do. We also have a form in the Google Drive that's for quarterly goals, but also your daily 111. So that's going to really spell out, how am I going to hit goals every day that I'm trying to achieve. It's also why we recommend and encourage you all to get accountability partners that you can kind of, reach out to and not just script with, but talk about, what is it that we can be doing this week or today, and what am I trying to accomplish? So for starters, you won't achieve those goals by accident if you don't know and have a clear vision of what your goals are. So big goals and small goals. Know your strengths and weaknesses. It's okay to know them and to focus on really, when I was at the Glover event in Florida back in January, John Maxwell, we were very blessed to have John Maxwell, the author, there. And something he said that stuck with me was this. When his kids would come home with their report card, and let's just say they got, and I might be mixing this up a little bit, but they got A's in, let's say, math and science, and they got a C in language arts. What do you think he told his kids to do? I'm sure most of you would say that he told them to get the C up. That is not what he did. He told them to focus on their strengths. You are getting A's in math and science because you're good at those things. It doesn't mean let your weaknesses fall short and not work on things we have to correct, but really get in the zone of working on things that you're already good at. As I will go back to say, I am not athletic. I will never be an expert skier. I won't even try. I'm not going to focus my attention on my weaknesses in that category. Know how to work with both your strengths and your weaknesses to reach your goal, as I said in my exam. Let's see here. I'm just going to go through some of these for the sake of time. There is a short video in here. I'm not going to take the time, though. It's a 3-minute video. I know what's going to happen when I hit play. People in the room are going to hear it, and no one on Zoom is going to be able to, which happens every time. And I need to figure out technically why that happens. But there is a great video in here. You all have access to this in the Google Drive. But I want to wrap us up so that we can let Janice and Sarah take on their parts. All right. Step 1, commit to self-mastery. Here's another exercise. And this does say consult with the person that's next to you, but we're not going to do that because obviously we're not just all in one room. List 3 obstacles you think might hinder your achievement of the goal that you wrote. So what are 3 things that might get in your way in your life to achieve those goals? Here it says to consult and discuss with your partner, meaning if we were in one room, you could talk to the person next to you and discuss that, obviously on a more private level. We're going to open that up to everybody discussing as a group. And then it says share with your partner or with us in the group what strengths you feel you have that will help you overcome each obstacle. So 1, just someone shout out, what do you think is an obstacle, just one obstacle that may get in the way of your goals? And how do you think you can use your strengths to help you overcome that obstacle? Anyone at all? Anybody in the room with you, Janice or Sarah?
I say one of my.
I'm in the car. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I say one of mine is consistently lead generating. I would say I don't do it every day like I'm supposed to, but getting over that is actually just doing it, setting a good time frame where I'm not always running or in a car or something, trying to actually setting a time frame, sitting down, being able to at least knock out 10 phone calls or text messages or emails within the day. That's something that I'm still working on. It is a little bit difficult because I'm always on the run, but
Yeah.
it's most definitely something I have to
So
get
Akila,
a
have you ever
control of.
heard the term build a moat around your time?
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
So that what that means is when we say build a moat around your time, that means if I go on my calendar and I set aside 30 minutes for lead generating and specifically making calls or texts, I'm going to do it someplace where I'm building a moat. That means no one can interrupt me. So if that means that you're at home and you've got kids and there's dogs or there's just different distractions, honestly, you guys will never see me here in my office at the office working. Other than getting ready for things, I'm definitely not someone who's going to make my lead generating calls from my office because I can't build a moat around it here because there's too many people coming in and out. There's too many distractions. I have to do that privately at home when no one's there. So that way I'm not interrupted. Anybody else? Well, let me follow through. So Akila, a strength that you have that helps you overcome that would be what?
A strength that I have is the other jobs that I do have consistently have me around new people that I can lead generate with. So I don't get my phone calls out like I'm supposed to or my emails, but I most definitely talk every day to new people about real estate. And I make sure that I pass out my business cards to try to generate new business.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 3, and then I'll ask for someone else to share. What weaknesses might hinder you from overcoming the obstacles? How can you conquer them? Are the obstacles movable? Is there something that you can master that will help? So if someone else could just share, what do you think is something that's getting in the way? So going back here, what is one obstacle that gets in the way of your goals? What strengths do you have that you can help overcome that? And what obstacles are movable? Meaning, I can remove those obstacles from my life by doing this thing. Anybody? Such a quiet bunch.
This is Kim. I'm in my car, but I just wanted to say, I think for me, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay. I think for me, I get to the point where I'm very social and I can hang out with the people I've meeting with and everything. And I've even learned to ask for referrals, I guess. But then when it comes down to actually asking for business, sometimes I don't have, well, 99% of the time, I don't have the confidence in real estate yet. And I know that just comes from doing, well, I think it does, and continuing to learn. I'm a big learner. I like to learn, but the information stays in my head and doesn't get applied a lot. So I don't know what the obstacle is other than a lobotomy. Anyway, you tell me.
Now, I think your obstacle is this. You don't have to master everything about real estate to feel confident to talk to people to refer you business in the future. You aren't really having to have a real estate conversation about the market when you're asking for referrals.
Yeah.
Gina, I also think a lot of people that fail at self-mastery is they don't have the schedule down.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's all about the schedule. What you do in the morning will get you through the day.
That's right. Yes, 100%. If we don't time block and we don't decide the times of the day that we're going to do the things, you don't have to do them in a genius way. You just have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Kim, I think this, and I know this with you, you're just an education person and you know a lot of things about a lot of things. And you feel, I think what's holding you back is you think that someone's going to ask you some question that if you can't answer about real estate, that it's going to make you feel bad and insecure or dumb or whatever. When really, when we're talking to people out there in the world and we're talking to people that we know about wanting to, you know, get referrals or getting their business, we think they're going to corner us with some kind of a crazy question that we can't answer. So that's usually not the way the conversation goes, right? If you
Right.
call your sphere and say, hey, I just want to let you know that I have a goal this year to sell 3 houses. And I wondered if you would keep me in mind, if you know of anyone who's thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, and can I go ahead and send you some more information about the market? They're not going to say, hey, Kim, tell me a little bit more about blah, blah, blah in real estate. You know, like they're just
Mhm.
not. That's so unlikely. And even if they did, then you just say, oh my gosh, so how you avoid looking like you don't know what you're talking about? You always answer like this. Oh my gosh, that's an amazingly great question. You know what? I don't know about that one particular thing, but let me write that down. I'm really excited now to do some research on that. And then I can't wait to get back to you with the answer. That's always your response.
Right. That's good. Right.
Even if you're walking to a house and someone says, hey, can you tell me, I think someone recently had this, can you tell me where the property line's at? And I think the agent had told the buyer's agent that the red truck that's rusted in the back corner of the property is where the property line is at, or something crazy like that, which actually it wasn't on the property. But we don't know the answers to those questions until we ask somebody else. We're not expected to know every detail about every situation.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Good. Thank you. No, thanks.
All right, moving on. So step 2, commit to the 80-20 principle.
So does everyone know what the 80-20 rule is? If you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's on page 98, and it talks about the 80-20 rule. And it's based around 20% of your work tends to produce 80% of your results. I probably jumped ahead, Gina, sorry. I took notes
okay.
yesterday.
That's okay. I just want to make sure I'm on the right slide for you. So you manage me through the slides. We're not
Okay.
going to do that.
And
then
this is
tell
a
me
big thing. This is a big bold thing. Your big rocks come first. Everyone's so worried about the little things like making sure kids are getting somewhere, which is still a big thing, but you gotta focus on your schedule. That's why schedule is probably the biggest thing. Your big rocks are your schedule. Like what are things you have to get done? Lead gen, lead follow-up, making sure you're in touch with people that are under contract and they know where they're going. And it's just identifying what is the most important 20% task.
So can you explain, so like when we look at this picture visually,
Mhm.
I know you've been in bold, so can you explain to the group, like as if they've never heard the term big rocks come first, and go to the pebbles in the sand and explain what those all mean?
So the big rocks are your most, like your top things, your biggest
Yep.
things. That's lead gen, lead follow-up. Putting people into your database. The small rocks would be like appointments, open houses, and then like the pebbles and sand, isn't that more of like your marketing and like smaller
The-
task stuff?
The things that lead to it. So envision that you have a jar like this, and you are going to, your 20% of it is your big rocks. So 20% is your big rocks that fill this jar. Then you've got, let's say 40% are pebbles, and then you've got 40% sand, which all equally fill the jar. But what we really want to focus on, what's taking up most of the space in this example, are the big rocks, if that makes sense.
Okay. What's that one? So if you commit to the 80-20 principle, 20% of your effort leads to 80% results. So your 20% effort is the big rocks. The 80% is results is make more money, time with family, more organized.
And isn't that the case with most everything we do? I mean, don't they say, let's just use the losing weight example. 80% is the food that you eat and 20% is actually exercise. And so that therefore, in that case, again, 80%, you're going to put that kind of effort to get that kind of response. If you're eating right, you're going to get the results that you're looking for in that case. You tell me if I go too far ahead when you're.
Nope, you're fine. So you want to identify your 20%. So your 20% should be tasks, most important 20% tasks, and organize their workday, getting them done first and foremost. You should always get your big rocks, your top things done first in the morning.
And why do we think that? Probably because we procrastinate, right?
Yes, well, your phone starts to go off, your watch goes off, people talk. It's a nice day. I call it squirrel brain.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice shiny items.
That's right.
So I don't know if I know the one thing one.
Okay.
Success list. So yes, you want to make a list. So that's why you want to make a list of what you want to do. It's called your success list and a not to-do list. Because I think so many people focus on the easy tasks, the stuff that they get done fast, instead of, it's lead gen and lead follow-up. No one wants to do that. No one wants to spend 2 or 3 hours doing all that, but that's what helps you get the accomplishments you want.
Yeah, so the things that we want to do the least are probably the things that are going to bring us the best reward. Unfortunately, that's the bad news, guys. The easy things aren't going to bring you the greatest reward. The hardest things are going to bring you the greatest reward.
Correct. So there's an exercise. We could have write your goal. List as many things you can to think of that you are doing or could be doing to make this goal a reality. They do that in bold. I know that. That's like day 1 or 2.
Yep.
In bold. And then create a success list by circling only the tasks that are going to have the most impact on your goal. And we kind of do that though with our GPS.
We do.
We have it's just not a circle, it's just blocks.
Right.
And then can you identify the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? So that's why like you said, we do a GPS follow-up once a quarter to make sure everyone's on track.
That's right.
Focus with the 411. So everyone should be doing this. Set weekly goals that correspond to larger monthly goals. Set monthly goals that correspond to larger annual goals. This I think majority goes with the business plan, which I know we have a few business plans coming up throughout the region. This is a great thing. I think everyone should do a yearly business plan, a half a year, and then the last quarter.
Yep.
Because the market's changing. Plan weekly goals, activities no more than 1 week in advance to allow for change in direction. Set annual goals that can be realistically accomplished in a 12-month period. And avoid revising goals set in prior weeks or months to reflect new goals or missed goals. Let's see.
This is just giving you an example of what she just said. So this is actually the daily 411 broken down for you in an example.
Isn't that similar to the 12-year?
Yep.
So they have the same thing in there, which I think is a great read.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Here's a blank one for you to use.
Mm-hmm. And then time blocking, manage your 80-20. This is huge. This is why most agents have their up and down, have their roller coaster, the ebb and flow. You just got to time block. You got to, if you don't, I know Gina's big on this. If it's not on her calendar, it doesn't exist.
That's right.
She doesn't know where she's going. I'm the same way. We got a time block. I suggest, I know we've done it. We did the morning time block and I tweaked mine. It's been adjusting. I know some of my agents here have been doing theirs and theirs is working. Be consistent enough to set the habit. It takes what, 12 weeks to set a habit?
Is that what it is? I think so.
think
That sounds.
10 to 12 weeks. Be
Mhm.
thoughtful and purposeful about the items you list. Always time block for the big rocks, the 20%, to ensure that your success and the success of your business. If you erase, you must replace.
We're probably not gonna do exercise
yeah.
right now, but there's an exercise here for you guys to go back in and actually fill one of those out.
Protect your time block. The world doesn't know your purpose and priorities, and it isn't responsible for them. You are. And this
There's
is
that.
similar to
Yeah.
that moat.
Yep.
It's build a bunker, whatever you gotta visualize, just protect your time. Like if you're gonna lead gen from 9 to 11, turn off your watch, turn off anything that can distract you, sit in a room that has no distractions. Store your provisions, make sure you know who you're calling, your script, what you're doing. Sweep for minds, which I always laughed at this. That is, get rid of all distractions. Don't go to the office with people you know are gonna be there, they're gonna bother you. Or don't go to Starbucks or Panera if you get sidetracked easily. And then enlist support. I mean, if you need someone to hold you accountable or do any kind of like lead generating thing, have them sit with you and you guys make it a competition.
Love
Or,
it.
say your numbers every morning regardless. Any ahas, anything?
Questions. Who out there is actually doing this in a high level? Like who feels like that they actually are spending 80% of their time on the things that we'll reverse. Who's spending 80% of their time on the things that are little that aren't going to bring you the amount of business that's spending the hard time, which is those big rocks, on that 20%, and then vice versa. So who feels like they're getting caught up in that 80%, and who feels like they're strongly working their 20?
I would most definitely say I'm on the 80% side right now.
Yep. I would say most people are. Kelly, were you saying something? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm like 50-50, maybe 60-40. Like I'm really trying hard to do and learn everything that everybody's been saying and implementing daily. And I've actually seen it pay off, but in baby steps.
Yep. And that's okay. As long as somehow we get to our goals sometimes and look back and go, wow, I didn't even realize I was taking strides. I thought I was taking baby steps, and then it just happens because you're being consistent and purposeful.
Yeah. Being consistent is the key.
Yep. And that leads us right into from E to P. So Janice, take us away.
Okay. So sorry, and that 80-20 is so huge because I feel like today I allowed the 80 to derail my morning, which is why I'm running late. Because things happen, right? And so you have to allow for those distractions and those things to happen because they are going to happen. But then you have to realize that and then get back on task. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So from E to P, so real life example here, from E to P. So the E is entrepreneurial, and it's hard to say that word out loud.
It is. I know.
And the P is purposeful, and so the goal is for us to get to that purposeful point. And most of us, or everyone on here, is an entrepreneur because you're a realtor. The goal is to get to that purposeful point where it's not where you're kind of when you're cracking like that glass ceiling, when you are working in your business as opposed to working on your business. And that is that's a hard balance. So when you're working in your business, you're doing those 80-20, you're doing your lead gen activities, you're doing those things that are going to bring you future business and keep your keep the needle moving. When you're working on it, you're just taking it as it come, or you're just following up when you feel like it, or lead genning when you feel, when somebody gives you a lead, you're happy about it, and you handle that, but you're not doing anything to push the needle forward. And so to do that, to move from E to P, you have to have extreme focus, right? You have to time block your morning. You have to put a bunker around your day with whatever you need to get done in your business. The other stuff, the little rocks can be handled at a later time. And you have to know and be able to be okay with those things not happening. It could be that you can't clean your house today, and you just have to clean it tomorrow because you have to do those things that you need to get done, and be okay with that, because not everything is going to be perfect all the time. Find strategic options. So find ways to get things done. Like, how can I get it done? Are there any better ways for me to get this done? And use those tools or systems to help you be better. And it could be as simple as setting your calendar, your Google Calendar, setting alarms to notify you that you're supposed to do this at this time and follow up with this client at 2 o'clock, or what have you. Something that's going to remind you that that's what you're supposed to be doing. And then sometimes you have to set a punishment for yourself too. Like, if I didn't get those things done, then I have to do this. Like,
Yeah, I'm not going to watch my show tonight on Netflix because I didn't accomplish the things that I wanted to do today, right?
Absolutely. Or I got to work Saturday morning and make all these calls that I didn't make during the week. It has to be something of pain so that you don't want to do it, and you'll get it done when you're supposed to, so you don't have to feel that pain point.
Yeah, that's right.
Look for models to follow. So, attend trainings, look for people within your market center that you aspire, not that you want to be like them, but you want a business or a career like they have, and follow whatever, ask them for support, ask them, what do they do? How do they do it? What was important for me, because I'm a single mom, was to look at other single moms and be like, how the heck do you balance all of this? Like, that was important to me to see that it could be done. And so just find someone that you can model after, and then just go for it. Install a system. So that's what I was just saying, like the time block. Do the alarm on your phone. Say at 10 o'clock you're gonna call expires or FSBOs or whatever, and then take a break at 10:45 and have an alarm for that, and then have an alarm to start back up at 11. Whatever that time period looks like, set those systems, put those systems in place, because it's only going to make you better. And then after a while, you may not even need that. Like Sarah said, it takes 12 weeks to form a habit. And once you've done that consistently, you won't even need the alarms, because it's going to be second nature for you. And then accountability. You guys have built-in accountability here with myself, Gina, and Sarah. But you can also get accountability partner within the PC group. I have agents that are in the Living Market Center that have accountability with each other. And they meet once a week. They go over their goals for the week. They talk about what's good and bad and what they need to do, what they're implementing, what didn't work. And they meet regularly without me even guiding them to do so. And sometimes it's easier to hear from, or it's easier to be accountable to somebody who's kind of in your same space. But then sometimes you want to go up, and so you want to have an accountability partner with someone else. And so you guys can always reach out to us to be accountability partners if you need us to do that.
Let me also say this too, Janice. So we are a group of a lot of high I personalities who got into real estate. And in particular, people like to live in the E. And the reason we like to live in the E is because imagine this. That's the brainstorming. Entrepreneurs are coming up with new ways to grow their business. So the point of E to P is this. Can I be productive, and can I actually start bringing in the amount of money that I want if I'm always in the entrepreneur phase. So the entrepreneur phase is like us all sitting down and brainstorming new ideas of things we can do for marketing and brainstorming this and So like a lot of people that get stuck in the E is I'm the forever student and I'm not pulling the trigger and making a purposeful calendar to do the work. E is the fun stage. It is the, gathering information and learning and trying to grow my business and thinking about putting a plan together about the marketing I'm going to do. And, oh, that's another great idea. And, oh, that's another great idea. And it's like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel all over the place. And we need to be entrepreneurs because we need to think of the things that we want to do to personalize our business, right? And brand ourselves. That's the fun zone. Taking that to purposeful now is taking all those great ideas, chunking it down to smaller bites and going deeper with purpose. Now I'm going to take that sketch that I was drawing out there and now I'm going to make it a piece of art, right? So now I'm not going to just take the sketch and keep sketching new ideas. Some point I need to take one and turn it into something, right? So that would be like the person who's always starting new projects and doesn't know how to get deep and purposeful and actually then like revise it and pick the things that you want to do, back to the big rocks, to be able to focus your attention on and make it great. You won't make it great in the E. You'll make it great in the P. So I'll give you a real life example. My first year of coaching was my entrepreneurial phase, probably even the first 1.5 to 2 years here at Legacy. And I was just figuring it out, gathering information, calling other productivity coaches around the country that I had heard had successful programs. So here's a little tip. Call other successful Keller Williams agents throughout the country and say, hey, I noticed you on social media. Will you take some time to answer some questions for me? How did you do this? And how did you do that? And then I asked this question. Who did you learn from? And can you give me their information? And then I called another PC someplace in the country and said, so-and-so gave me your name. And they said that blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me more about what you've done? And then can that person give me a name? And I probably called about 4 or 5 PCs throughout the country to see what pieces part. So I was gathering information. What worked for them? What didn't work for them? What worked for them? What didn't work for them? What do I like to do? What kinds of things for each of them talked about that I want to implement into my business? And then I just started creating classes, creating ideas. It's how we evolved. Akila can attest to this because she was one of my first. That's how we came up with Dominate Your Week. The Viber chat came much later. And so all these things that I was in that place, I remember Jose saying to me in a meeting when we were talking about my goals for the next year coming, and he said, you've been doing really good in the E. You have been growing and learning and really doing a good job with this. Now you need to take it to the P. Now you need to go back and look at all the things that you've been doing and coming up with ideas and get purposeful with it. Meaning now really create around that, make the classes sharper, make them better, do things to get people more engaged, really now dig deep in all of those things to make it way more purposeful. And then is when you're going to see the growth, which is exactly what happened. We went from 20 agents to 70. So that's no different than I am trying to create a real estate business that started out with 10 sales this year and then will explode to 50 next year. It's the same concept, just different activities. Thoughts or questions on the E to P or really anything that we've talked about today? Thank you, Janice and Sarah, for your input on that. We have about 1 minute left, so open up to anyone who has any questions. I'm going to do a stop share so I can see all your faces, or ha ha ha, not really, all the black screens with your names on it. Nothing? All right, guys.
I
Well,
do
thank you
have a
so much.
question.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Jump
I
in.
do have a question. I just don't like to like keep people hanging on if they need to leave. But I think it was, I'm not sure if her name is Kellyanne. I think she said the rock was like the stuff that you do in the morning, and that's like contacting follow-ups and then generating leads.
Mhm.
In when you're referring to like the marketing and Facebook and like when people are most active, is there any statistics that show, okay, contacting people in the morning probably isn't the best thing? Should we be contacting them at specific times of the day rather than in the morning? Because I know in the morning I'm open, but somebody else might be in a 9 to 5.
So I lead generate 2 times a day typically. It is
Okay.
This is Sarah, by the way, because my computer died, so I'm using Kelly's in my
Oh,
office.
okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
It's okay. I usually generate, if we don't have class going on, 9 to 11, and then like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
usually people that can't get off work or answer their phones will answer their calls as they're driving home or just getting home. But you don't want to go past really 5:30 because people are doing dinner and stuff and they're short.
Right. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And I would say this too, you're gonna figure out, depending on who you're calling, how they, 2 things. How does this person like to be communicated with? And how you'll find that out is how they respond. So I'm probably, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. You guys jumped around. I'm going to call, text, and email. And how they respond, then I can find out how they prefer to communicate. And then I just ask, how do you prefer to communicate? What's your favorite part of, communicating? Like, like I just said to someone who is in our coaching, actually, she emails me a lot and she emails me to an email address that I don't often use. So it could take me the whole day before I respond to her. So this morning when I responded to her email, I said, hey, just so that you know, the way to get a faster response from me is in a text message.
Okay.
And so I told her how to best respond so that you're going to have clients or people that aren't clients. You're going to figure out how they want to be communicated with, but also then try different times. So when you're putting people into command and into your database, make a note every time you call, text, or email them or any kind of communication, and make even a note that says they never respond when I call them in the morning. So then next time you're going to try them later in the day. And because it isn't the same for everyone, it's going to be different depending on who. So again, someone who stays home is going to be way more available in the early part of the day than in the later part of the day.
Right.
And we all have lulls. For some reason, 2 to 3 o'clock, 2 to 3:30-ish for me is like my lull in almost every day. I'm not sure why. Probably because I do so many things in the beginning of the day. And then I have lunch, and then I have this little bit of a lull where I don't typically have appointments, and then I start picking back up again after towards the evening for appointments and things like that. So I just know that, and so that's also a good time for me to do my, preparation for different things because that's when I have a lull in the day. So if someone called me at 2:30, I probably would answer. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer out there because everyone's going to hear me say that and I'm going to having the phone ringing all the time at 2:30. It doesn't mean that I don't schedule appointments at those times. It just means for some reason that seems to be the lull in my day. So if I had someone who was trying to get in touch with me, I would be more likely to be available at that time.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thanks so much for coming, guys. I hope that you found this to be a benefit, and I would love to hear in the chat any more comments or thoughts that you guys would have if you finish those exercises. If we were doing this as an in-person only group, we would have done. So also, all that information, as I said, is in the Google Drive training folder. So you have access to those slides and all of that information as well. And then we will finish that out later in the month. We'll go through the last 3 of the perspectives. Thank you, guys. Have a fabulous week. And don't forget that scripting is on Friday at 10 on Zoom.
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.